Ladies and gentlemen, it's 10 o'clock, so I understand we can start. I think everybody who was planning to be here is present in the room. My name is Beata Chłodzińska. I'm the chairperson of the Supervisory Board, and according to Article 409, Paragraph 1 of the Code of Commercial Companies and Partnerships, I'm authorized to open today's extraordinary meeting of shareholders. Therefore, I'd like to welcome all the attendants, and I would like to thank you for participating in today's meeting. And I'm hereby opening the extraordinary meeting of shareholders of the company. Before we move on to the agenda, I would like to ask persons who will be helping us with voting to present the IT system used for voting. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody who's authorized to vote after signing the attendance list received a device for voting. At present, you can enter the Your Data button to check the number of shares represented at the meeting, and everything is correct according to your authorization. When a voting is announced, you will see buttons, active buttons, yes, no, abstention, and then in the next window, the device will ask you to confirm your choice. And if you see message registered, it means that everything is fine. If you have any questions or problems, please feel free to ask during the whole meeting. I'm available here. Thank you very much. I understand there are no questions. Everything is clear, so we can move on to item 2 of the agenda, selection of the chairperson of the extraordinary meeting of shareholders. Would anyone like to submit a candidate, please? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of KGHM Polish Copper, I'd like to submit the candidate of Beata Chłodzińska. Any other candidates? So I will just say that apart from being the chairperson, I'm the representative of the Treasury, which authorizes me to candidate as the chairperson of the meeting. So thank you for submitting myself as a candidate, and please vote now on selection of Beata Chłodzińska as a chairperson of the extraordinary meeting of shareholders. The resolution is now being displayed on the screen, and the contents of the resolution are as follows. The extraordinary meeting of shareholders of Tauron Polska Energia S.A., according to the Code of Commercial Companies and Partnerships and the regulations of the General Meeting. The General Meeting appoints Ms. Beata Chłodzińska as the chairperson of the General Meeting, and the resolution becomes effective on the moment of signing. And please vote now. Has everybody cast their votes? If so, I'm closing the voting, and please provide the results. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, in the voting concerning the selection of the chairperson of the meeting, 986,416,493 votes have been cast. All of the votes were votes for. Thank you for your trust and for selecting me as the chairperson. And so I'll move to the relevant seat. Please provide the attendance list. I don't know who's got the list, but could you please provide it? Based on the attendance list, the Sorry, it's the total number of shares, right? 1 billion. And these are the shares that we... The number of shares represented at the meeting is 993,272,120 shares, which is 56.7% of all the shares, and the total number of votes is 993,272,120. And the shareholders that are represented is the number of shareholders is 135. And according to the provisions of the Articles of Association, according to paragraph 10, the number of the votes are limited in such a way that the shareholders who have more than 10% of total shares in the company is limited to such an extent is that they cannot exercise more than 10% of the shares that are represented in the company and of the votes, apart from the state that is represented in the meeting, and the shares that are held by shareholders that are in the same group of companies is accumulated, and if it exceeds 10%, it's reduced according to the same rule as I said before, which is defined by paragraph 10 of the Articles of Association. And regarding the foregoing, the shareholder KGHM Polish Copper has the number of votes that exceeds the limit of the vote. It has 182,110,556 shares, which is 10.35% of the shares. So the list of attendance is limited to 10% of the vote in the company. And the treasurer is also a shareholder that has the number of votes that exceeds 10%, but the limitations that are described in the Articles of Association do not apply to it. Now, please, I'd like to ask all the proxies and representatives of the shareholders to inform us of any relation of domination between the shareholders. If there are no such cases, just give me a second to sign the attendance list. Now, I place the list here. We can continue the meeting. And based on the documents that I received, today's general meeting of Tauron Polska Energia based in Katowice that was convened by the Treasury was convened properly by an announcement published on the 24th of October on the company's website, according to the provisions on introduction of financial instruments, and the contents of the announcement are reflected in paragraph 402 of the Code of Companies and Partnerships. The list of attendance has been signed by the management board, and it was presented in the company for access on the 18th of November. Before we move on to item 4, which is adoption of the agenda, I'd like to file a petition, a request that we do not read the resolutions unless some amendments are proposed. The resolutions were published on the website. They'll be displayed during each voting, and it's allowed by the regulations. If any of you oppose to this suggestion, please let me know. I don't see any opposition, so I think we can move on to item 4 of the agenda, which is adoption of the agenda of the extraordinary general meeting. It was published on the 24th of October on the company's website. On the 30th of October, it was amended and published on the website since there was a request filed by shareholder KGHM and Polish Copper to include an item concerning adoption of resolution concerning changes in the composition of the supervisory board. Therefore, let's move on to voting on the agenda. You can see the agenda displayed on the screen. Please have a look at it. Are there any questions or comments concerning the agenda? If not, please vote now. It's an open voting on adoption of the agenda of the extraordinary meeting of shareholders of Tauron Polska Energia. Have everybody cast their votes? If so, I'm closing the voting, and please provide the results. In the voting on adoption of the agenda, 986,416,493 number of votes have been cast, representing the same number of shares, representing 56.28% of the share capital, and all the votes were votes for. So the resolution has been adopted. Let's move on to item 5. According to paragraph 5 of organizational regulations, we can adopt a resolution on revoking the secrecy of voting and selecting the committees appointed by the extraordinary meeting of shareholders. The contents of the resolution is now displayed on the screen, so please vote in open voting on revoking the secrecy of voting on selection of the return committee. Has everybody cast their votes? If so, I am closing the meeting. And please provide the results. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, in the voting on revoking the secrecy of voting on selection of the return committee, 986,416,496 votes representing the same number of shares, representing 56.28% of the share capital, have been cast, and all the votes were votes for. Therefore, the resolution has been adopted. Now we can move on to item 6, which is election of the return committee. Please provide your candidates. According to our regulations, the committee is composed of 3 members. On behalf of KGHM Polish Copper, I'd like to propose the following composition: Mr. Andrzej Brucnal, Ms. Romana Kaczmarek, and Maciej Sierpiński. Thank you very much. Does anyone else have any other candidates? If not, I'd like to ask the candidates if you agree to being appointed to the committee. Thank you very much. Since the number of candidates is the same as the number of members to be appointed, we can, according to regulations, vote on all the composition altogether, all the members. So let us vote on the resolution concerning appointment of the Return Committee of the Extraordinary Meeting Committee, where paragraphs 1 states that the following composition is appointed: Andrzej Prucmal, Roman Kaczmarek, Romana Kaczmarek and Maciej Sierpiński, and the resolution becomes effective after adoption, and you can vote now. Have all the shareholders cast their votes? If so, I'm closing the voting, and could you please provide the results? Ladies and gentlemen, in the voting on the resolution of the selection of the returning committee, 986,416,493 votes, valid votes have been cast, representing the same number of the shares, representing 56.68% of the share capital. And all the votes were votes for, so please, I'd like to ask the committee to arrange themselves.
Już bardzo dziękuję. Przejdźmy zatem do kolejnego punktu dzisiejszego porządku. To jest
Let's go to the next point of the agenda. It's point 7, which is adoption of a resolution on shaping of remuneration for the members of the board and adopting the resolution on number 5 for the title Polska Energia S.A. of the 15th of December 2016 on shaping remuneration for the members of the board and adoption of the resolution of the EGM under the company Tauron Polska Energia S.A. of the 29th of May 2017 on amendment of the resolution of the 5th EGM of the 15th of December 2016 and removing the adoption the resolution number 26 of the 8th of May 2019 on amendment of resolution on number 5 of EGM of the 15th of December 2016. This point has been adopted upon the Treasury shareholder, which reported that upon the announcement of the meeting. And the company received the draft and published it on its public website. As per the shareholder's justification, who demands to adoption of such resolution, such point and the agenda is under the Prime Minister's office and is to detail down the details of remuneration of the members of the board and supervisory board, which are subject to the Act on Shaping of Remuneration under the basis of the remuneration on the shape of Regulation Act and the temporary regulations which are subject to the Act of Solution for the basis for the budget for the year. Any questions with regards to that? If not, then on behalf of the State Treasury, I will present the draft of the Act of a slightly different content, and the amendment is just editorial type. In paragraph 3 and clause 2, instead of the current content, it is suggested to place arrangements of management targets in particular, instead of a catalogue of managerial objectives. Now is arrangement of managerial objectives in particular. This is the only change with regards to the presented draft, which I present on behalf of the State Treasury. And since this is a new project, I should read it. It's 5 pages long, unless you will not object to me just presenting the change, unless anybody needs a technical break to consult the amended content. Then a 5 minutes break.
Jesteśmy chyba w komplecie, tak? Wobec tego rozumiem, że Państwo mieli możliwość skonsultować.
Understand you could consult the change, the amendment, and the formal issue, as I have said, Theoretically, as per the regulation, I should read this long resolution, but since this is of editorial change type, so if you don't object, I assume that all of you agree that we can proceed as if it had been published and it is on the display. I see nobody objecting. Thank you very much for releasing me from reading the content of the resolution. I see no question. Hence, I close the discussion and I suggest that we adopt the resolution with the exhausting title to read on principles of shaping remuneration on the members of the board and revoking the resolution number 5 of EGM of Tauron Polska and Geza of the 15th of December 2016 on the shaping of regulations of member of the boards and revoking number 26 resolution of the EGM and the Tauron Polska and Geza of the 29th of May 2019 on amendment of resolution number 5 on the EGM of the 15th of December 2016 and revoking the resolution number 26 of a general meeting of shareholders of Tauron SA of the 8th of 2019 on amendment of the resolution of the number 5 of general meeting of the 15th of December 2016. The draft was published on the website in its principal part, and now it is displayed as the suggested sounding of the resolution. And now I'm open ballot in order to adopt the resolutions. Please do vote now. Did everybody have an opportunity to vote? If so, now I close voting. I ask the chairman of the returning committee to provide a report. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I decide that the resolution voting on shaping of the remuneration of the members of the board and revoking the previous resolution. In open voting, there were 986,416,493 votes, which gives us 56.28% of share capital in percentage. Votes for 863,993, which is 88.08%. Voices objecting 97,779,024 votes, and 19,800,476 votes abstained. And therefore, the resolution has been adopted. Thank you very much. Now we can go to the next point on today's agenda, which is amendment of the resolution number 6 of the EGM of the meeting of the 15th of December. As in the previous point, it was reported in the agenda upon the request of the shareholders of the State Treasury, which on the 18th of this October this year requested it again with calling the AGM. The company received the draft in October this year, and it has been published. Are there any questions with regards to this motion? And justification is as with the previous one on the shaping of the remuneration. No question. In the face of no questions, I have no question as well. Therefore, I close the discussion and I suggest that we start voting on the resolution on amendment on the resolution number 6 of the EGM. This shall be an open voting. Has everybody had an opportunity to cast a vote? Not yet? Has everybody managed to cast a vote? If everybody has managed to cast a vote, and I hope so, then I close the voting now. Please provide the report. Thank you very much. And the voting on the resolution on the change of resolution number 6 of EGM of the 15th of December, 986 million has been passed in general, which gives us 56.28 of share capital as votes for, 868,641,126, which is 88.08% of all votes. Votes is against 98,009,279, and 19,765,988 voices abstained. Therefore, the resolution has been adopted. Thank you very much. Then this point is completed, and the next point for today's agenda is on changes in the supervisory board members. Any comments? Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Chairman, this is a point which is upon the request of KGHM Polska Miedź S.A. And since KGHM needs a little bit more time to select the candidate for the member of the supervisory board, I'd like to request a break in the meeting until the 6th of December, until 10 o'clock. This is my motion, my request. Any other motions for technical breaks? How much time do we need? 5 minutes, so now we'll have 5 minutes of technical break. Thank you.
Czy możemy kontynuować?
Can we continue? So if we're here back again obviously we've received a draft on the break, on postponing the meeting. I'll read it. It's a formal request. They're not discussed, so they're just voted on. So I'll read the draft resolution, and then I'll propose voting. It's resolution number 7 of today's general extraordinary meeting of shareholders on postponing the meeting of the debate of the extraordinary meeting of shareholders of Tauron Polska Energia S.A. The extraordinary meeting of shareholders of Tauron Polska Energia S.A. based in Katowice, acting on according to Article 408, paragraph 2 of the Code of Commercial Companies and Partnerships, and paragraph 17 of Section 5 of Regulations of the General Meeting, decides as follows. The extraordinary meeting decides on postponing the extraordinary meeting of Tauron Polska Energia S.A. and the debates will be continued by the extraordinary meeting of shareholders on the 6th of December 2019 at 10 o'clock in Katowice in the conference room of Novotel Hotel Katowice at Rodzińskiego 16, which is the same building that we're in, and the resolution becomes adopted at the moment of adoption, and we need to have qualified majority of 2/3 of votes to have the resolution adopted. Please vote now. Has everybody cast their votes? If so, I'm closing the voting, and please provide the results of the voting. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the resolution has been voted on concerning ordering a break in the debate of the extraordinary meeting of shareholders until 6th of December. 986,357,544 votes have been cast, representing the same number of shares, representing 56.28% of the shares. Votes for 860,270,480. No votes against, and abstentions 126,087,064 votes. And we need to have 2/3 of votes for, and it's 87% for. Therefore, the resolution has been adopted. So we're not going to continue the meeting. The items of the agenda are going to be debated on the day of 6th of December. Thank you very much. I'm closing the meeting.